Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about the Certified Nonprofit Professional Credential, the CNP program. So first off, who are we? My name is Ariel Kaler, and I am our CNP Programs Manager here at the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance. A couple things about me is I got my CNP on the college track whenever I was in school, got a ton of value out of it, really loved it. Landed my, at the time, what I thought was my dream job out of college, and I credit a lot of that to my experience in college in the CNP program. Another fun fact is I love concerts. So in the bottom left hand, you'll see a picture of Noah Kahan and Hozier. If you're not familiar with them, you should definitely go and look them up because they're great. I actually got to see the world premiere of a duet that they did together.
Very, very cool. Good morning, everyone. I am Keely O'Sullivan Kurtz. I am the Director of CNP Programs at the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance. Similar to Ariel, I earned my CNP in 2019. I have been working at nonprofits mostly since 2008. Prior to my current role, I was in Chicago doing a lot of advocacy and healthcare work. A fun fact about me is that I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and snow is all over the ground. Big fan of snow, absolutely love it. But I've already found myself dreaming a little bit about my garden this year. So the flower at the bottom right-hand side of the screen is a purple cone flower for my garden next year, and I am looking forward to them this year too. So now that you know a little bit about us and where we come from, let's get to our agenda. Today, we are going to talk about the value of adding credentials after your name in today's job market. Then we'll dive into the Certified Nonprofit Professional Credential, why it's valuable to you in your career, and what it's really like to go through the program.
Okay, well, first off, who is NLA? That acronym stands for the Nonprofit Leadership Alliance. We have been around for 75 years. This is our 75th year anniversary. And 75 years ago, we were founded by a man named H. Rowe Bartle in response to the need for well-qualified nonprofit professionals. The CNP was created to ensure that nonprofit professionals were capable employees and could further their organization's missions. And so now that's what we're still doing. So you might be wondering, what is the nonprofit sector and why is it important? Well, the nonprofit sector is essential. And to give you a definition, a nonprofit is a legal entity organized and operated for a collective public or social benefit. In contrast, for-profit organizations, they are entities that operate as a business aiming to generate profits for its owners. So one thing that I always like to point out is nonprofits are supposed to make money, just like for-profits. The difference is where that money goes. So nonprofits, we want to take that money and give it back to our constituents, the people that we serve, whereas for-profits, they take that money and put it in their pockets. The nonprofit sector is huge. It's made up of a ton of diverse organizations, probably anything you could think of, from food banks to homeless shelters, dance studios, scout troops. It's just meeting so many needs across the country and our world. And if there is an interest that you have for a nonprofit, there's probably one that already exists. And if there isn't, you can create it. I know that we all know this, but the last couple of years, our world has been super uncertain, and everyone's everyday lives have been interrupted, from losing jobs to food insecurity. People are struggling, and we know that nonprofits have been there to meet people where they're at and provide them with the resources that they need. So, moral of the story is nonprofits are doing essential roles today, and they will continue to do that in the future.
To speak for both Ariel and myself, I think, where we sit in our roles, a question that we get a lot of the time is, how can you find a job in the nonprofit sector? What's that like? Is it super competitive right now? especially in these times in this market. So to share a little bit of data around that, the PNP, the Professionals for Nonprofit Staffing Group, they recently did a survey, and they found that 50% of nonprofit professionals, of the thousands of nonprofit professionals who responded to their survey, 50% reported that they had staff increases between 2021 and 2022. And over 50% of those respondents in the survey, they relayed that they plan to continue to add new staff in 2023 and 2024. So the sector just continues to grow. Additionally, due to the competitive job market, salaries, we have seen nonprofit salaries grow so much in the past couple of years. And this is especially true for positions in program design and in development. Another element that I think is a really high selling point for a career in the nonprofit sector is the flexibility that you often get for nonprofit organizations. When the pandemic was at a fever pitch, a lot of organizations were looking at ways to accommodate their employees. And so we've seen the development of a lot of flexible hybrid working environments, and we've seen those opportunities persist, after COVID has calmed down a little bit. So I think that working in the nonprofit sector, you can have a really great salary, and you can work for an employer that looks at you as a whole person and finds those ways to give you those value adds, those benefits, those flexible elements that might be important to you and your family. Anything to add on that, Ariel, as a person who's worked in the sector for several years?
Yeah, I think one thing that I would add is typically at nonprofit organizations, benefits package as a whole are usually better. So I think nonprofits do a good job of looking, as you said, Keely, at someone as a whole person, right? So nonprofits want to structure their work environment as a work-life balance. And so you'll see more PTO days available at nonprofit organizations. They typically have really great healthcare plans and really good retirement plans. So it's just whenever you go to weigh the cost benefit analysis of working in a nonprofit or a for-profit, I feel like you have to look closely, because a lot of time they really are matching each other, just in different categories.
Well said.
So talking about employability, online credentials are on the rise, and they are here to stay. We continue to see an increase on online credentials. This graphic is from a study that was done by Inside Higher Ed. And as you can see, the non-degree credential, that light blue line, is soaring compared to graduate degrees and undergraduate degrees. And a lot of times you can take degree or credentials and add them on top of the degree that you're already getting. And so people in all careers and all levels of expertise, they want to learn something new and get some specialized practical information to help take their careers to the next level. And they want to do that on their own time and, on their own schedule. And so a lot of times that means online. A couple benefits of online credentials is you get a portfolio of resources that you get to keep for years to come. It helps you build a national network rather than a localized network. It is fully online, which I've mentioned before. And then you also get to choose what skill set you are, working towards, right? So our CNP credential is focused on nonprofit content and helping you become a leader in the nonprofit sector.
I think the through line here is that the credential, the certificate conversation, it's going to continue to be part of your job hunting experience. In fact, we're seeing a lot of for-profit and nonprofit organizations who are actually partnering with college campuses now to bring really specific certificates to those college campuses, so that when those individuals graduate, they have that really particular skill set and can join that company or organization. Another little factoid is actually from today. I was reading, there were some statistics from the National Center for Education, and they relayed that more than 1 in 4 people, Americans, hold a non-degree credential and have a greater earning potential as a result. So the summary here is that credentials are alive and well, and they are certainly here to stay in the job market. We've talked about credentials broadly at this point, and now I want to shift gears and chat about the CNP, the Certified Nonprofit Professional Credentials specifically, because it really does check all of the boxes of an online credential that Ariel mentioned on the previous slide. According to independent research that was conducted by LinkedIn, CNPs are 7 times more likely to rise to a leadership position at their organization when compared to their peers. So this research really looked at 2 groups of people that had similar backgrounds, similar educational experience at the same organization. They looked at these 2 groups of people that were very similar. One group had the CNP and one did not. And the group that had their CNP, again, they were 7 times more likely to rise to those leadership positions. The research also found that CNPs are oftentimes at the highest level of nonprofit organizations. So we're talking C-suite, CFO, CEO, really high level positions. The research also indicated that there are CNPs in all of the subsectors of the nonprofit sector. So for example, we have CNPs who are working in education, we have CNPs working in healthcare, we have CNPs advocating for the environment. Whatever you can think of when it comes to different mission focuses, there's a CNP there. So I share all of this because the CNP, whenever you have it and when you're going through the program, if you're looking for that next position, you're looking to level up, you're looking to find a volunteer board position, whatever the case might be, the CNP is there to really help bolster your network. So to give you an example, let's say you're applying to a big nonprofit organization and you might not have any direct connections there, but you see that someone on staff has their CNP. That's a really great way for you to connect with that person and have that similar background. And someone can vouch for your experience and your knowledge in the nonprofit sector. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that when you are looking for a position, once you earn the CNP, you're able to put the digital badge on your socials. Most people do LinkedIn. And why that's helpful is because there's metadata associated with that digital badge that allows you to be searchable by hiring managers. So from a really practical standpoint, the CNP easily makes you very marketable and a desirable candidate for many nonprofit roles in the sector. I feel like I'm laundry listing a lot of things. And the final item that I want to highlight is that as you're going through the program and you're learning all of this great nonprofit foundational information, you earn your CNP. It's not like you're done with your CNP. You have your CNP forever, and that means that you get continued access to career development resources. So you have tools like connecting with a mentor, you have tools to help you with your cover letter, or we have a job board. There are things to help you figure out what work-life balance means for you and where you're at in your life. So all of that to say is the CNP, as you're going through the program, it really helps you develop an awareness of the sector, and then it helps you pinpoint where you want to go and how to be successful when you get there.
Okay, so we've talked about the CNP broadly. I've been given some facts about how it's really helpful whenever you're looking for a job, adding it to your LinkedIn profile, and just how you can take those next steps. So a little bit more specific about the CNP program is we do have 5 CNP requirements. If you're currently enrolled in college or you have previous college experience, then you likely qualify for the education portion. In the past, that's looked like a bachelor's degree, but just within the last couple of years, we no longer require a degree, and an equivalent life experience or other credentials or an AmeriCorps term, things along those lines can count for that education piece. So if you don't quite have a degree yet, or you're not looking to pursue that in the future, that is okay. Just chat with me and we can figure out how to get that requirement met for you. Our second requirement is a nonprofit experience, is what we call it. And so that is 120 hours of working or interning at a nonprofit organization. A couple of details about this is for that nonprofit experience, it could be online or in person. It could be paid or unpaid. One of the parameters that we look for is that it's within the last 2 years or during your time in college. It's kind of the markers that we want to put on that. If you had experience in high school, that's super great, but we want to do something that is, relevant to who you are now. Our third requirement is a volunteer service activity. That is 20 hours of volunteerism at a nonprofit organization. This can be at your local soup kitchen. It could be at your church. It could be if you're involved in an organization on campus. It could certainly count for your involvement with them. That could count as your volunteer service. One thing that I will say is that position or that opportunity cannot be paid because it's volunteer. So I always like to highlight that. And then our fourth requirement is leadership development, and that is attending a national nonprofit conference. We host one every year in February called Elevate. It's a little over a month away, which feels really crazy to say. And so that is where you have the opportunity to come and connect with other collegiate students in our network. You can connect with CNPs. You have the opportunity to hear from keynotes across the country. It's just a really cool, engaging time. But you don't have to attend Elevate. You can attend a different nonprofit conference that interests you. If you have one in mind, feel free to send that information to me. Our fifth requirement is passing the CNP exam. A couple details about the exam are it is 100 multiple choice questions, all true, false, or multiple choice. And you have 2 attempts to take the exam whenever you enroll. And our passing rate is 76% or higher. With the exam, a lot of times people will be a little bit worried about it or have some test anxiety around it. And what I like to share is if you are going through the study guide, which we'll talk more about in a second, and you've done your nonprofit experience, you've been volunteering at an organization, you are more than likely going to do just fine on the exam. I think we do a good job of preparing you for that. And we want you to be successful on your first exam attempt. And so we give you the tools to make that happen. Something that I referenced that the exam is not like is it's not like whenever you were a sophomore in high school and you were in your math class and what you did in class was nothing like what you saw on the quizzes and the tests. The conversation or the problem was so much harder. The CNP exam is not like that. It is pretty equal to what you see on the study guide and the practice quizzes that you do.
Also, just like talking from seeing all of our CNPs take the exam, we know that about 90% of people who take the exam on the first go, they pass it with flying colors. And when they don't pass, they get a second attempt. So don't be nervous about the exam. You're going to do great.
Yes. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Keely to talk a little bit more about the study guide. Oh, just kidding.
Oh, nope. I took us one step too far. That's my bad, Ariel. Let me get back to the study guide. So as you know, if you are enrolled at college, you're going through your coursework on campus or virtual, whatever that looks like for you, something that we provide that can really supplement that experience and also give you the foundational knowledge you need to be an effective nonprofit professional, that's in the virtual CNP study guide. You get access to the study guide, the first day you enroll in the CNP program. It is a guide that you can go through whenever your schedule allows. It is broken down by the main nonprofit competencies that will help you be successful in the sector, beginning with management and leadership in the nonprofit sector, going all the way through trends and innovations. The way we try to set up this study guide is really to be interactive for you. There is reading that happens in the study guide, but we also have a lot of podcasts. We have presentations, we have TED Talks. We try to provide a wide variety of vehicles for you to get this core nonprofit knowledge. I think we already mentioned that at the end of, there are 6 modules, but there are 4 lessons in each of the modules. And at the end of those lessons, there's a quick little knowledge check that just is kind of your gut check to make sure that you are retaining the key information that you need to be successful in the nonprofit sector, but also on the CNP exam. We also have case studies built in throughout the study guide. So you see on the screen, here's the Kids Zone Youth Center. It's a fictional nonprofit organization. And so in each lesson, you're taking what you're learning from that content and you're able to apply it in this case study. Any other facts that you think is valuable for the study guide, Ariel, based on learners who've connected with you that we should share?
I think I would just reiterate that in the past and what we've seen happen with the study guide and the exam is if you are really spending time in the study guide, you're going to do just fine on the exam. There's a direct correlation to how much time people spend in the study guide to their score on the CNP exam. So yeah, if you're in the study guide and you're doing the quizzes, the module or the knowledge checks and going through the case study that you do with Kids Zone Youth Center, you are going to do well on the exam.
Excellent.
So what do practical next steps look like? So we've talked about the CNP, we've talked about the benefits that it can provide, we went briefly through the requirements, and now you're ready to enroll. The way that that works is you fill out the Collegiate Track enrollment form. We have a screenshot of it over here on the right. You'll fill out your typical information, your name, email, you'll put what college you attend, and then you'll click submit. Once you do that, in about 4 business hours, it takes about 4 business hours, and then you get an email that prompts you to log in and create a username and password. Then I encourage you to bookmark that page because that is what we call our CNP Central page. Keely mentioned it earlier whenever she talked about some of the resources that we provide, like webinars, a mentor match program, a job board. That is also where you'll find the study guide and how you will evidence the 5 requirements that we talked about. So once you enroll in the program, just bookmark that page so you continue to have access.
Okay, so let's say you've enrolled, you've completed your 5 requirements, woo, and you have the credential. You are a CNP. So right upon earning that credential, you receive an email with the digital badge that you can put on your LinkedIn. There's a screenshot of what this looks like. You can also print a certificate and frame it if that's your thing too. Just to re-emphasize an earlier point, the digital badge provides metadata for your LinkedIn profile, and it's linked with those core nonprofit competencies that you were tested on the CNP exam, and it lets hiring managers know that you are an expert in those areas. Additionally, I think a question that we get sometimes is like, okay, I have the CNP. What do I do with it beyond LinkedIn? We do provide a lot of resources to help you, give you examples of what it can look like on your resume. Katie Rossman is a real life CNP in the wild, and this is how she has the CNP on her resume. But we also have things like, okay, you're in an interview and someone is unfamiliar to the CNP. What's your elevator pitch or your talking points? We provide all of that so that if you get that question when you're promoting yourself, looking for that next move in your professional journey, you know exactly what to do. And those are 2 of those examples.
Something else that we want to highlight about the Certified Nonprofit Professional Credential is that it lasts forever. Once you are a CNP, you are a CNP for life. You continue to have access to CNP Central. You are automatically a part of the Association of CNPs, which we have over 12,000 of them nationwide, and some live internationally as well. You have access to CNP exclusive continuing education resources and that job board that we talked about. And also, I think the CNP, it just really shows that you have a lifelong commitment to the nonprofit sector and continuing to further your knowledge and just grow deeper in your understanding of nonprofit work.
To add to that really quickly, Ariel, some of your points on this slide, you just jogged my memory and I want to share. Speaking of the membership to the Association of CNPs, whenever you're working in your career, whatever that ends up being, you'll find that there are associations for most professions. And oftentimes, associations, to be a member, you have to pay annual dues to maintain that membership, and that's not the case with the CNP. So you are a member of the Association of CNPs for your entire life without those dues, which is fantastic. I also want to note that the association, they have volunteer elected leaders. So members get to vote on their leadership. And those leaders, their whole objective, their role is to create opportunities for CNPs to have continuing education opportunities. So free access to ongoing learning. They also create opportunities for networking. So they hold coffee breaks, they hold speed mentorship events. They're really in existence to make sure that there's value, ongoing value provided to the CNP membership, and that CNPs have a free way to maintain their prowess, their understanding of the nonprofit sector. For example, they're hosting a webinar on January 24th about how to get board members to fundraise. There's another one happening, I think, in the summer about multi-generational teams. So again, being part, earning your CNP, and then having that lifelong membership in the association is just a really great way for you to keep your finger on the pulse of the nonprofit sector.
So a special opportunity for you is whenever you enroll on the collegiate track, you are able to earn your CNP for $300. Something I like to highlight is we do serve college students and also working professionals. And so I always encourage people to enroll while they're in school, because once you become a working professional, you are still certainly able to get your CNP, but those programs look pretty different and their costs are also different. So you can get the CNP for $300 while you are in school and go through the program. It's also just a great way to really apply what you're learning in your class to what you're doing at your internship and what you're learning in the study guide and the case study that you're doing while you're in the study guide. So I think it just does a really good job of kind of pulling everything together and putting a bow on top of your experience and your knowledge whenever you graduate. Something else that we want to offer to you today and between now and the end of January, so January 31st, is if you enroll in the collegiate track between now and January 31st, is you will get Elevate for free. And so Elevate is the online conference that we talked about earlier, and it is one of the requirements for the CNP program. And typically registration for Elevate is $80. So if you enroll now, then you do not have to pay for Elevate and you have everything you need to get the CNP.
Just because I'm a huge fan of Elevate and very invested in it, a few things that I'd like to share are that Elevate is scheduled, the live event is February 27th through the 29th of this year. It's a mix of live content. We have some really, really excellent speakers, and so it has live content, but it also has a lot of like pre-recorded content. If you are unable to block off your schedule for 3 days in a row, because I know it's a busy time of year, that is just fine. I encourage you to attend the live events when you can, but then we of course record everything and make it available to our Elevate attendees for 30 days after the conference. So Elevate is a really fun time for people to get to know the CNP community members better. It's a time of connection, and it's a time of really like inspiration as we kick off the rest of 2024 as people interested in the nonprofit sector.
Thanks for adding that information about Elevate, Keely. Okay, well, we really appreciate you all being here today and joining us. And thank you so much for your time. We will send out this recording later for you to view. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk with us.
Ooh, I did want to highlight that the registration page was added to the chat. If you do register before that 31st date, we will then make sure you get registered for Elevate for free. And I'm also going to, Ariel, I hope you don't mind, I'm putting in your email address into the chat as well. So if anyone has any questions, reach out to Ariel. She is a wealth of knowledge and will be able to answer all your questions.
That is perfect. Yes, you can certainly reach me by email, or you can also schedule a time to talk with me on the phone if that is what you would prefer.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.